I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Most men, they just want to use women, bro, for their body. Like they don't want to really care for them and love on them and give actual love.
Women are typically more horny than men, and they also have a period of ovulating where they're way more horny than men on average, and they still don't act out in public. They still don't like make all these awful decisions. They still like refrain from doing things. They still have like critical thinking skills.
Men are taught we don't have to do that. We're taught we don't have to do that. We don't have to practice restraint. We don't have to be respectful. We are entitled to anything and everybody and whatever we see or want or desire.
One thing men, got to accountability for is being manipulative.
Y'all, I don't know what's going on today, but there's a handful of men that's speaking some truth now on the internet. It's a handful of them out here. I don't know nothing about these young men. They don't know each other as far as I know. But I just came across these 3 videos and I was like, wow, ain't this interesting? Look at the men telling the truth. Now, all of this stuff is directly correlated and linked to abuse, manipulation. Abuse and manipulation, which is the same thing, right? Because abusers are manipulative, manipulation is abusive, so on and so forth. So it's a vicious cycle. But men are constantly trying to manipulate women, and they do it in a myriad of ways. And one of the main ways that men do it is by creating double standards. That's one of the ways they do it. Also, men create these like false narratives all the time, and they distort the perception. They distort women's perception of reality by gaslighting them and by putting on fronts and so on and so forth. And then when the woman clocks it, they go, "You're crazy. I can't believe you would say that about me." Whatever, whatever, whatever. But ultimately, I mean, I made a video about this last week. I said men and women don't love differently. Men just don't love. And I come across the video right now and I'm like, interesting.
I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Most men, they just want to use women, bro, for their body. Like they don't want to really care for them and love on them and give actual love. Like actual love is, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't love before, and I still love this person, that person to this day. I just no longer talk to them. But bro, when a man truly loves you, he's gonna pray for you every day. He's gonna be on his knees praying for you every day. He's gonna actually, his actions are gonna match his word, and he's gonna try his best to change for you and all of that. Like most men, they just see a pretty woman or like a girl's vibe, and they do whatever until they hit. And then once they hit, they start change. Their actions change. They start treating you a little differently. But sometimes they even continue with the actions. But as soon as they see you pursuing somebody else or going with somebody else, they try to control you or try to get you to come back to them. That's just because they wanna just use you. Like they're not trying to really be your friend for real. They don't really care about you for real. Like I'm gonna just keep it above. Like I see this, I be seeing that.
It would appear some men can, men are just spotting it, what's going on with men. I'm always interested when I hear young men say the things that I say all the time, and I go to the comments and there's not a bunch of men in there calling them a simp and a pander or whatever. I always think that that's interesting because I'm like, I say this shit all the time. This is what I'm saying all the time, but men know that this is the truth. Y'all, we know how men operate, right? We know it's all a huge fucking gaslight going on at any given time. Men don't love women. Generally speaking, they use the concept of love. They want her to love him, but he won't love her back until they drain her of every fucking ounce of whatever, right? Her essence, if you will. And then they kick her to the curb, or they wait for her to leave or whatever, or they cheat on her or whatever the case may be. They run her down, they beat her down, all that stuff. That's what I've known about men for like a really long time. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like if you would have asked me before I started doing the work, I would have been like, yeah, no, that's probably most men. It's just how men we don't ever say it when it's not convenient. Men always creating double standards, always excusing problematic behaviors for men and demonizing the same behaviors in women. And then women don't even be doing the shit. Like it's crazy.
Women are typically more horny than men, and they also have a period of ovulating where they're way more horny than men on average, and they still don't act out in public. They still don't like make all these awful decisions. They still like refrain from doing things. They still have like critical thinking skills. They don't let their lust get a hold of them. So I don't understand. Why can't most of y'all do that?
Men are taught we don't have to do that. We're taught we don't have to do that. We don't have to practice restraint. We don't have to be respectful. We are entitled to anything and everybody in whatever we see or want or desire or whatever the case may be. That is what men are taught. So when you essentially turn every man into a fucking narcissist and you just release them into the wild onto society, it, expect those results. Expect the results of a man that calls himself a predator and then rationalizes him preying on women, saying that you know, that like that's like a rite of passage for men. It's a rite of passage for men to prey on women. But it's not okay for a woman to expect money out of a man, like as if, hey, that's not even like a common thing or a real thing. But like, you can't, a woman can't expect money out of a man, but a man can expect a woman's body whenever he wants it. Just acting like animals, and then the double standard is crazy, man. Like if women acted like that, men would. If women acted a tenth as bad as men do, men wouldn't know how to act. And so y'all get on the internet, or should I say not and so, but yeah, y'all get on the internet and just openly lie and act like women actually are like it goes both ways. Man, that's all a part of the manipulation. That's all a part of the manipulation. It's to justify the behaviors of men. It goes both ways. Why should we do anything about it? I can't be held responsible for my actions. It's the saying like I'm just a girl. There really should be it's really I'm just a boy. I'm just a boy. I'm just a man. I can't be held responsible for my actions. When girls say that, we know it's a joke, but men actually live like that. That's the scary thing.
One thing men, got to accountability for being manipulative. And I think a lot of times we don't understand how we're being manipulative on certain individuals. Some people do what they do, but just for the ones that don't understand when they're being manipulative or what it looks like, because I've been single for a minute now, so I really want to take this time to work on myself, do a lot of self development, just sit back and really understand me. But one thing I want to understand, the term we use like Captain Saver, whatever. And I say that because that's how we ignorantly address certain stuff. But in the reality of it, when you see a girl in emotional distress or just in a vulnerable state, and you always want to be the dude that swoop in and do certain stuff, that's manipulation, bro. And let me tell you why. It's because just because you know how to treat a girl, just because you know how to be a gentleman, just because you know X, Y, and Z, doesn't mean that you're necessarily trying to be that for her. So a lot of times you guys catch, well, I'll say us, because I'll take accountability for the times I've done it too. A lot of times we get in these situations knowing what we can provide, what we can do to look, but then we understand that it's not really necessarily tailored towards her. So then once she started getting attached and started feeling, feeling secure because you felt the void that you obviously see that she needed, now it's time to retreat because then you realize this is not who you wanted to be that for. And in the sense, I feel like I said, just get the benefit of the doubt for some dudes. I feel like it's a coping mechanism with certain things or certain people you didn't have in your life growing up. So you try to always be a place filler for people, not knowing that it's not your place, it's not your job to do X, Y, and Z, but also at the same time, you're using that as your advantage now. So a lot of people don't know or take the time to invest in this to understand why they do certain stuff. But I think it's during this time period, a lot of men just sit with yourself and really think about a lot of actions that we do.
I love him. I love that honesty and him like reflecting on the things that he's done. But the thing he's describing is love bombing. That's pretty much what he's talking about. Swooping in, being like the white knight, and like White knights exist, right? The men that are performative, that act like they care about women just so they can get something out of a woman, mainly physically, those men exist. I would say those are most men. You know, like essentially, men act like Faison Love in that scene in Money Talks when he was in jail with Chris Tucker. He was like, "Oh, did they grab you? Did they grab you like this or like this?" You know what I'm saying? Like that's how men act with women, like all the time. Like a woman is like being vulnerable, and he's like, "Oh, there. You want another drink? Yeah, just one more ship, just one more ship." That's how men act. I'm a pounce like a fucking predator. That's how men act, man. Very manipulative, very predatory. Happens every day. And most men are programmed to act like that. We got like it has to be addressed, it has to be called out. Men, it's so normal. You don't even think anything about it. You just do it. You just do it. It's crazy.
I want to talk about anger a little bit. Anger is often associated with abuse on the part of the abuser. I've heard you say he doesn't have a problem with his anger. He has a problem with her anger. Can you explain what you mean by that?
What I mean is that he doesn't believe she has the right to be angry at him. And he believes there's one of the benchmarks of abuse is double standards. So it's one of the things I really recommend people keep an eye out for, because this is something you can often see early in a relationship before you.
It's something that we see online every day, how men have these double standards for women. I believe in double standards, but I only believe in double standards like the other way. I don't believe in the double standards that are used to control women. I believe in the double standards that reflects the system that we exist in, which is patriarchy, capitalism, racism, whatever. Right? Like I can say nigga, but a white person or a non-black person can't. Yeah, absolutely. I believe in that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a woman being like, I want a man that can 100% provide for me. But I'm not okay with men that pursue women strictly for their bodies. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm okay with double standards only when they don't harm anybody, because typically those things don't harm men at all. You know, so I'm okay with double standards from that perspective, but I would never use a double standard on a woman. Like it like, oh, I can go out, but she can't. Never. I'm never on that type of time. Never.
Gotten in too deep, and because it's much harder once you're in really deep, is watch for a person who's got completely different rules for you about certain things than they have for themselves. Like you're not supposed to have friends of the opposite sex. Would apply to a heterosexual couple, but it's fine for them to have friends of the opposite sex. You're not allowed to yell, but it's fine for them to yell. Or you're not allowed to be angry, but it's fine for them to be angry. And because an abuser always insists that he has a right to be angry, but he'll tend to really punish her and retaliate against her for being angry. But the other thing I tend to really emphasize is, or encourage people to do, is just start noticing how many really harmful things he did while he was not angry. And I just had a revelation about this like a week ago, believe it or not, because of a book I'm currently writing. Is I just realized that his anger and his abusiveness tend to arise at the same time because they're both caused by the same other thing. And that makes it look like the anger is causing the abusiveness when that's not why they're coming together. They're both being caused by his severe entitlement, his severe sense that she should have to obey and should have to do everything that he wants. That's making him angry and it's making him abusive. And that's why they come together, and then you start to think, oh, he's being abusive because he's angry.
This is the type of double standards that I'm speaking of. Like what Lundy Bancroft was saying in that video, he was talking about like in a relationship, right? He was saying like you could clock it early on to the women. He's like, oh yeah, you could kind of pick up on it early on. But this is how I pick up on it earlier than that. I can hear abusive rhetoric and abusive language in men on the internet. I know if you think and you talk like this, I know you're abusive in your relationship. Because it doesn't stop here, it starts here. This is what I'm saying. And y'all, whatever. You like Cat, I don't got no problem with Cat Williams per se. You know what I'm saying? I like Cat Williams. I'm not a Cat hater, but I'm using this for a reason because we was all, yeah, Cat telling the truth and da 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 da. But y'all didn't talk about this part of that interview. We didn't pick up on this.
We got women out here can't find a man because they acting like him. You are alpha. Now the alphas all want these subservient husbands. You can't have one. No.
So, do you see what I'm saying about a double standard? So, it's okay for men to want subservient wives. It's okay for men to be alphas. But if a woman is either one of those things or expects one of those, expects that type of husband, now it's a problem. Rules for thee, not for me, right? Any man that says stuff like this, who's especially they use masculinity. They weaponize the concept of masculinity to control women's behaviors. So they tell women that's masculine. That is something that only a man is supposed to be able to do. Only a man is supposed to be able to have a subservient spouse, a subservient woman. A woman can never expect a subservient man. Mind you, I don't think either should be looking for subservience, right? But I also, at the same time, am definitely against a man saying a woman can't expect that or want that. That's the problem. The problem is women want subservient men. The problem isn't that men are misogynistic and expect subservient husbands, subservient wives, maybe some of them husbands, but subservient wives. No. That's not the issue. The issue is women are expecting that, which isn't true. That was just stupid. But that's why I wanted to bring that up. Because people be saying stuff right in your face and you don't clock it as abusive. But that is abusive language. That is the double standards that Lundy Bancroft was just talking about. That is the manipulation that the other gentlemen in the videos are talking about. That is what it looks like. And it's little subtle shit like that. Or it would appear to be subtle to a lot of people. But to me, that's a blaring fucking horn of a red flag. Rules for thee, not for me. I can expect that. I can expect a subservient wife. You can't. You can't expect a subservient husband. I can walk around and be macho and be the alpha. You can't be the alpha. Why? Why not? Why can't she be the alpha? Oh, because she's a woman. I have a dick. She has a vagina. You can't have it. Got you. Abusive. That is very abusive. And if you think a person that thinks like that and is willing to say that type of shit publicly in their relationships, that's where it ends, is right here. You're fucking nuts. So I'm listening to all that type of language, like publicly. Men say this type of shit publicly. So I know you're abusive privately. No way around. I know you're manipulative privately.